Hey, good morning, guys. This is Ev, and today I am with my very, very good friend, Josel.
How's it going?
And Josel has been basically my go-to guy, and I think for the Bay Area, perhaps one of the most knowledgeable in terms of carburetor tuning as well as restoration. Josel has brought back, well, unfortunately, we don't have a shot of, these 50s, these Solex / Mikuni 50s when they were dirty. But as you can see from the return of the carburetor, they are exquisitely clean inside and out, and we'll have
especially underneath.
especially underneath. And Josel will actually kind of give us a little tutorial on the 50, since it's very seldom that we see 50s all cleaned up and ready to go.
Great.
Okay.
So I guess one of the reasons why they're called 50s is because of the size of the throttle plates. These are actually 50 millimeter throttle plates. Now, I wish I had a 44 or a 40 to give you an example, but it's quite significantly larger.
Okay.
The other thing is that these are, since these are type 2s, normally they'd be made of magnesium, zinc. But since these are like the special one type only, these are actually made of aluminum.
Wow.
So if you were to hold on a type 2 40 or 44 and you held on to a 50, it's very easy to tell which one's which, just being blindfolded and carrying it.
Okay. Now, Josel, so for Mikuni, they came out with how many types of carburetors? There were 4 types, right?
Yeah, so there's the earlier Solexes, which is what would be type 1 or anything that precedes the type 2s.
Okay.
And these are the type 2s.
Okay.
Mainly the shape of the bowl themselves and the top cover that's very type 2-esque. And there's missing a few features here that will be addressed later in the years. And you have the type 3, which my best description of the top cover looks like a crab shell.
Okay.
And then you have the type 4s.
Okay. Now, so there were a type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4 carburetor.
Yeah.
But the 50s only came in a type 2.
That's correct.
Okay, so there's no type 3 50
No.
that some people are,
No.
Okay.
And if someone were to do it, then it must have been like a complete custom job, which is already very tedious by themselves, because you have a lot more stuff to have to worry about.
Okay. Now, what else is unique about the this particular stack?
So for these particular ones, and what I've actually noticed is that we have a serial number here. And as far as I know, every 50 has a serial number.
Okay.
And so for this one, it's 25891.
Okay.
Which matches this carburetor, which is also 25891.
Okay.
Which also matches this carburetor, which is 25891. Now, what that tells us is that the original owner that had bought these before you acquired them bought them as a complete set.
I see.
As a matching set.
Okay. Now, here's actually some other interesting features too, which Josel, you mentioned that in terms of technology-wise, why is the Type 4 carburetor better than these, what do you call Type 2 Mikuni 50s?
Right. Okay, so with the Type 4s, Mikuni really, in each generation, Mikuni changed sort of like these quality of life accessibilities or easiness. Particularly for the Type 2s and Type 3s, in order to adjust the float level, you'd have to take the top cover off and then either stack or shim the pump nozzle or like the needle and seat in order to adjust the float level.
Okay.
Or for the Type 3, you would bend the tab, put it back together, and then remeasure.
Okay.
For the Type 4, that's all external. So you have a little, like a nut and a screw, which you turn in to raise the level, or you turn out to lower the level.
Yeah, it's like a little reservoir, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to think is like you have a a gatekeeper that's really easily accessible instead of having to like rip it apart and then do it all over
Dissect
again,
it.
and then you're covered in gas like 3 hours later.
Gotcha.
And then the other thing that they changed from the Type 2 to the Type 3 and 4 are that with the Type 3 and 4 they have removable pump nozzle, which would normally be located around here.
Okay.
For these particular ones, they're integrated in the inner venturi.
I see that.
Yeah. And in order to change the size, if it's too small, you would have to mill them out
Oh, wow.
and to an appropriate size.
Okay.
And if it's too large, you'd have to buy a whole different set that starts off small and then working your way slowly up.
Okay. Now, with these three that are in front of us, they were really, really sold. And could you tell us, Josel, exactly what you did to bring it to, I guess, this luster and what
Right.
other maintenance things that were performed?
So the car bodies here are actually in really good condition. There's very minimal pitting, and there's a lot less staining that actually went into the body themselves.
Okay.
So I didn't really do a whole lot, but I did, inspect each aspect when I fully disassembled them to make sure that there's nothing really, nothing really wrong with them. And so after that, I just, use a little bit of elbow grease as well as, help from my ultrasonic cleaner and a few other stuff that, this is what essentially came out.
I see. Okay. Now, there were also some preventative or worn out parts that you mentioned.
Yeah, and so gaskets are stuff that I would replace. These little brass crush washers for the fuel inlets I already replaced, as well as the stuff over here that I replaced, and changed the pump, the little pump membrane to something that's a little bit newer. The other preventative maintenance stuff, which I would have done regardless, would be the idle mixture screws. Those are brand new.
Okay.
And as well as specifically for the Type 2 is that inside these chambers here, there would be a little...
Like a small ball. Right?
Yeah, there's a pump check ball and a weight.
Okay.
With the Type 2s, they would normally be plastic.
Okay.
And so that's just prone to cracking and over time. So I just replaced it with some metal ones.
Wow, plastic, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so Josel, I would like to also give out a plug to, if for those friends that are not from the Bay Area, you can easily find Josel at Sidecraft Specialties.
Yeah, Sidecraft Specialties.
Right. And then the contact information is right here.
Yep.
And usually, what is the turnaround time? Again, it's subjective because
Right.
it depends on how bad.
How intensive the work is, or like what needs to be replaced. But generally, on average, anywhere between 3 to 7 days.
3 to 7 days.
From the moment I receive them to the moment I ship them out.
Okay.
With a lot more intensive stuff, that's a little bit longer.
That's a little bit longer.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it could be 10 days.
10 days. Okay. And these actually just came back, like 5 days ago. So, really just fantastic. And with that said, Josel, thank you so much for stopping by.
Of course.
And if you have any questions, feel free to give Josel an email or do you accept text messages?
Yeah, and if you really want to, you can, contact me through my social media as well, which is if you just Google Sidecraft Specialties, my Instagram page should show up, as well as my Facebook page should show up as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.